I wish you, when you do this, you try to really impress how I'm feeling because I am so hurt and so disappointed in pastoral leadership because I always in my life believe the pastors have to be above above approach, above the people in terms of life and lifestyle, being an example. And I'm really hurt because I don't see it. I'm really crushed, and I'm so hurt. I'm so disappointed, and people don't know why when I get to talking, I get emotional and I talk loud. People take that as though I'm angry. I'm really hurt, big time. And since the old fellas have died, if I found the preacher that I knew was hurt, I call him up, man, what's going on? How you feel? Because I want to help him. Because I understand why he would feel that way. But I don't get that back from pastors. And me being a pastor, and if we taking things so personal, into where, and that one told me that I can't walk with you, all because I challenge the pastor, he cannot walk with me, but yet that pastor have demonstrated over the years off the chain behavior, but he can walk with him. That disturbed me because why we don't stand up for that which is right, even if what's right we don't like. I'm not going to stand against nothing ugly with nobody. I don't care if it's the President of the United States. If he asks me a question, I'm not going to answer it because he's president the way he want me to answer it. I'll give him my true opinion. And I think that's what we have to learn how to do. I'm not trying to, and my church know this. I know that my church is a struggling church. It always have been. But we've made leaps and bounds of things. And everything my church have been able to do, or God's church through me, have been able to do. We go back and look at it. We can't believe how we did it. We can't. And I challenge them, and guess what they do? They challenge me back. I don't count the money. I don't write the checks. Got trustees that do it. Every now and then I challenge them. And sometimes they challenge me. If I'm asking for something, they'll give me what they think and how they feel. And then guess who make the decision if me and the trustees ain't in agreement? The congregation. And because I've been able to live in front of them like a man of God, I've never been voted down. Never had an experience in my church ever be voted down. And I was told, y'all not train your church like that. I'm glad I did when I started coming in. And I want every man in my church, every woman, speak, vote, and when the vote come in, everything is canceled.
Okay, but you said you've been told that you shouldn't train your church. Train your church how?
That I should not train them to go to put the faith in their abilities to do what they do, and to have them challenge me if I disagree with them. I've been told, Reverend, you got to let them know you the boss, and what you say goes. Because everything that I say goes for finances, Mike, when you give me some money, I ain't going to handle it right. My church tickled me because they said to me, Reverend, all you're going to do is pass it out to everybody. So that's why I don't count it. That's why I don't keep up with it, because that's what I would do. That's a weakness I got. And I go broke. In the church, I go broke. So I just tell them, y'all better do it then. And I want them to challenge me if I'm asking for something, because I put, and prayerfully put folks in places at my church that got a good heart for Christ. Not just about me, but about God. They love God.
Again, this goes back to this goes back to Scripture, because the early church was organized. It was like people were given jobs based on what they could do.
Right.
The pastor didn't handle everything. Like,
right.
for example, I did the widows and stuff. Look,
right.
look, we got this that's going on.
Right.
Put some people out there that can make sure they got some money, because
right.
we got other things to do.
That's what Moses had to do. Moses was started off. He sit there for hours talking to all them folk, trying to counsel them. His father-in-law come up to him and said, "Now look, Moses," and I can paraphrase it. Moses, you're wearing yourself out and the people. Go find you some folk that can help these folk, because you ain't got all the experience. Moses would have died early. You know, he couldn't do that. And and I always believe that the way that when I organize our church, that's why I organize it. And I wanted the folk come in and put some. I trust their opinion as long as it's not sinful involved. I've never been worried about what they did. As long as no sin shows up, I'm okay. They have different opinions and different ideas, and I challenge a lot of them, and boy, have they challenged me. Yes, they have. And at the end of the day at my church, I go back to myself. They know I'm going to argue. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to try to win my case. I expect for them to try to win theirs. And that's what we do. Me and my men, that's what they do. The women won't do it as much. But those guys I got, man, oh God, man, they'll tell me quick. And they respect and honor me. And when the church makes a decision, we don't have church arguments.
Your last words of advice for first the churches.
I think the church ought to not focus on herself as an individual church. As much as we do, we ought to focus on the community. And to focus on the community, people must be appointed to deal with other folk in order to decide what can we do to the community to bring information back to congregations to support whatever it is being supported. I think congregations, people, if you go to a church, if you join it, don't look at the pastor, though he's the angel of the church. In my opinion, he is not. He's a human there to preach the gospel. He don't have a magic wand. If he do or make statements or things that you don't like or don't agree with, don't understand, you have a right to ask him.
That's not disrespectful. You just saying necessarily come out and go crazy, but you saying, let me ask you, what do you mean by this? What's going on, right?
I think, people should ask their pastors questions. Don't feel like you got to take his word for it, that God speaks to him and not me. God speaks to everybody. What if you're an usher? What if you're one of the greatest singers in the choir? It ain't just the people that sing and get there and do that talk. Sometimes it's more powerful being a good usher than it is a choir member. So nobody should alleviate their titles or their place in the local church if though the other folk have more power or authority with God than they do, because that is not true. I have learned more from ushers and nurses and folk that's sitting there selling chicken dinners in church and helping paying it off and don't never make a statement in the congregation that have been more effective in my life than some preachers have preached. Some revivals have not affected me. I done walked up to an old lady, several of them. I love old ladies. I love them to death. They can say stuff to you that's so hard and so quick and dry, and yet they smile while they do it. I pay more attention to the smile than no, this mama talking to me. And mama love you. And those women, I think, got a lot of stuff in them. In fact, I'm convinced now with the women preachers that I notice, and this is the truth, and I share this with them, I feel more spirit of God from them than I do men. Women get more serious, and they just don't pray. They pray. And I feel it in them.
And like I said, some guys would have a problem, but that's back to Jesus. When the men wasn't there, the women were there with them, taking care of it.
That's it. And right now, what have our men did?